Endemic Species, an article written by Frederico Cardigos. An endemic species is, by scientific definition, one whose natural distribution is limited to a known area. Therefore, when we refer to an endemic species, we must always mention the area to which it belongs because, as far as we know, and despite some bombastic news from NASA, all organisms are endemic to planet Earth. And why is it important to talk about endemic organisms? For two reasons. First, for a question of responsibility. In areas to which the natural distribution of an organism is limited, particular attention should be paid to its conservation. For example, China should be particularly committed to the conservation of pandas, since their natural distribution is limited to that country. The second reason is a matter of opportunity. The likelihood of observing a particular organism is much higher in its natural range. On the other hand, there are many purists who only value the observation of a species in their natural habitats, refusing oceanariums, zoos, or botanical garden de-contextualization. It is, therefore, an opportunity to increase the possibilities of the so-called nature tourism. In the case of the Azores, we have many endemic species. In this article, I will mention some of them which I consider emblematic or curious. If there was justice, the true living symbol of the Azores should be Vidalia, of scientific name Azorina vidali. It is the only organism in the Azores that, besides the species, is endemic to the genus level. For those who are not familiar with this form of classification, let's say that in the whole world there is nothing even similar. It is really ours, much more Azorian than any other Azorian. Besides, the Vidalia gives a set of beautiful flowers. The Veronica flower, Veronica davni, was lost for dozens of years. Scientists thought it was irretrievably lost until José Pereira, a technician from the Regional Department of the Environment, found it on a small bank on the island of Flores. Afterwards, the natural ornament Helder Fraga found a second population in Corvo. So, until someone has different news, this delicate flower is endemic to the western group of the Azores. There is a beetle that in the whole world only inhabits the rocks of the Capelinhos volcano, Fayal Island. It is the Giatella fayalensis and is one of the mysterious cases of speciation that occurs in our archipelago. If it seems strange to you that there is an animal that only lives in the area the size of Capelinhos, imagine another insect that only exists in some caves in the Azores. There are even more complex animals with their distribution limited to the Azores. There are, for example, two fish species. The first case, the Azores scorpionfish, Scorpiona azorica, unfortunately, is no longer actually endemic to the Azores as it has been recorded outside of the archipelago. By the way, it is funny, it was caught in the Azores and described by the early 20th century missions of Prince Albert I of Monaco, and strangely enough, no other animal was ever caught. A dozen years ago, a second one was really caught, but in the Mediterranean, and so an endemic species was lost. The second endemic fish, and this one is still endemic, is the green pipe Symphodius carleus. This fish was identified and described in 1999 by Professor José Azevedo of the Department of Biology of the University of the Azores. Until then, it was confused with another very similar fish with a wider distribution. The seabird, Pings monteiro, with the scientific name Oceanodroma monteroi, only nests on the islands of Graciosa, and it was discovered in a particularly interesting way. Dr. Luís Monteiro, from the Department of Oceanography and Fisheries of the University of the Azores, discovered it because he found strange the way it sank. From there until it was described and accepted by the scientific community, it took some years, but the initial step was a slightly different way of singing. However, perhaps the best known endemism in the Azores is the Priolo, Pirrula murina. This small bird has its natural distribution limited to Serra da Tronqueira and its surroundings in the municipalities of Nordeste and Povoação on the island of São Miguel. It is already the target of exclusive tourist itineraries. For me personally, The endemic species that most urgently needs more information is the Azores bat, Nyctalus azorium. This was the only mammal present in the Azores at the time of human settlement and is one of the diurnal bats in the world. However, the scarcity of data on the different populations and their annual variations point to the need for detailed characterization. In total, according to the recent listing made during the International Year of Biodiversity by Professor Paulo Borges and colleagues, in the Azores there are more than 400 endemic species. There are 5,000 possibilities of target tourism willing to pay good money to see these species in the Ilhas Bruma. Let's make the most of it. Article published in April 2011 in Tribuna das Ilhas journal.